Welcome to Blogs and Articles. In this series, we look at blog posts, articles online, and news stories about love, marriage, dating, and relationships. I'll provide some coaching questions for exploration, as I would for a client who is in this situation. Then, I'll provide my commentary at the end of just being myself, unfiltered and unadulterated. Hi, I'm Janelle, the relationship coach behind The Successful Invisible. Check out my links below if you're interested in working with me for group coaching or one-on-one coaching. The goal of exploring these blog posts, articles online, and news stories is to get insights from experts, promote greater self-reflection and self-awareness about your own behaviors and mindset, and hopefully allow you to become a more intentional and clear individual as you navigate love, marriage, dating, and relationships. I came across this article that was very interesting to me because I have heard several of my clients speak about this. Not super common, but I've heard it a time or two mentioned, and I felt it was a great article to bring today in post because with the way men and women date differently, I would say people, adults in general, date differently, partner differently as the world's changing, the economy's changing, etc. How partnership is defined, I believe this is definitely going to become a much more regular option in the way people date, partner, and marry. So let's get into it. It's from Psychology Today. It's called Couple-ish, Living Alone, Having a Partner. A new study sheds light on the rising phenomena of couples living apart. Many couples begin their relationships while living in separate homes, but today's couples continue living apart much after that initial period. A growing number of people decide to prolong this separation of living for years, and sometimes indefinitely. Many simply feel good with living alone, and when partnering up, do not want to change their living situation. To understand the extent of this phenomenon, one study shows that 7% of American women and 6% of American men report that they are in a living apart together, or LAT, relationship. While this sounds like a small share, it actually represents 35% of all individuals who are not married or cohabitating at the moment. In France, around one in 3 adults lives without a partner in urban areas. And as in many OECD countries, around a quarter of these people report being in a stable, intimate relationship with someone who lives elsewhere. All in all, nearly 1 in 12 is in a stable, non-cohabitating partnership. Following these numbers, a new study conducted by Arnaud Reginier Loilet, I butchered that, I know, analyzes the 2013 to 2014 EPIC survey of individuals and conjugal trajectories among 7,825 men and women aged 26 to 65 living in France. This study examines the prevalence of this rising phenomenon and the characteristics of the people who choose this living arrangement long term. One of the most important findings of this new study is that age is a crucial factor in understanding this growing phenomenon. At young ages, non-cohabitation is seen as a stage in the process of union formation. However, above age 30, the reasons for not living together are different from those given by the younger age group. For older people, non-cohabitation is a longer-term arrangement, and the proportion who intend to live with their partner decreases. For example, among 31 to 40-year-olds, relationships have lasted 3.6 years on average, and 55% intend to live together within the next 2 years. However, among the 51 to 65-year-olds group, relationships have lasted 11 years on average, and only 22% report planning to share a home in the future. It might well be, however, that it is not a matter of age per se. Rather, older people might simply be more immune to social pressures and mainstream norms. Why do couples choose to live apart? The reasons for this overwhelming new phenomenon vary. At later ages, many non-cohabitators have already lived with a partner and may no longer wish to repeat the experience. Segue. Ask many older women who have been married for 20, 30, 40, 50 years who maybe their partner is passed, or they're divorced, or usually their partner's passed if they've been married for a significant amount of time. And they will say, I will date again, but I will never live with a man again. My own mother says this, and my parents have been married for over 50 years. So I would say for a lot of women, they don't want to do it again. And I would guess, older men who are still independent, and have all their faculties about them, I think they're probably split. Some may want to live with a woman again because from their generation, they're used to women providing so many free services and free labor for them, and the companionship too. But if they're very independent-minded and able-bodied, they may not want to share. They may like their own space and like everything just the way they left it. So I think when you're speaking to the older generation, it is definitely a toss-up of how they feel. But I would say most older women probably don't want to live with a partner again. Anyway, back to the article. Indeed, if even one of the partners has been married, the probability of living apart increases. The study shows that 2 years after the start of the relationship, this probability is 42% if one of the partners was previously married, compared with 23% when neither has ever been married. Jacqueline Benson from the University of Missouri shows that living apart together contributes to feeling freer in the relationship. Partners also feel more empowered to pursue friendships and interests outside of the relationship. Others tackle fewer conflicts within their relationship because they are not fighting about the minor household assignments that often sabotage the relationships of cohabitating couples. Most obviously, living apart gives one autonomy while also giving him or her the option for intimacy. Another perspective emphasizes the fact that such living arrangements allow the flexibility in going in and out of relationships. In another study, Arnaud Regnier-Lollier, like I said, I butchered that, apologies, analyzed 3 waves of the French generations and gender survey. The results show that after 3 years, 22% of people in a stable, non-co-residential relationship are still with the same partner, and 12% after 6 years. Longitudinal data reveal, again, that among older couples, non-cohabitation is more a form of coupledom in its own right, lasting more years. It seems that people around the world have become more creative in finding alternatives to conventional marriage lives. They feel more empowered and freer to develop their own way of partnering, up to simply choose to live on their own. Such ways of living are more accepted these days and are therefore expected to be more prevalent in the near future. The following endearing video produced by the University of Missouri is a great example of these new alternatives. I'm not going to get into the video here, but I do want to go into some coaching questions that I would ask any client and have asked clients who are interested in living apart together relationships, because it is varies kind of drastically from the traditional relationship model that a lot of people are used to, but it is worth exploring, especially in this day and age. So question 1. Understanding the appeal. What might be the main motivation for couples, especially older ones, to continue living in separate homes when in committed relationships? I think that's something everyone needs to ask themselves, especially if you are an adult woman, man or woman, who's 35 plus, professional, working and dating in this current environment. You need to understand that. All right, let's jump into some great coaching questions similar to those that I would ask clients who were interested in LAT or living apart together relationships. So number 1, understanding the appeal. What might be the main motivations for couples, especially older ones, to continue living in separate homes even when in committed relationships? Number 2, evaluating previous relationships. And I think this has so much importance because that self-awareness and understanding your past experience can definitely be a positive contributing factor when you're self-aware to how you're going to move in future relationships. So question 2, how do past relationships, especially previous marriages, influence the decision to engage in a living apart together or LAT arrangement? Question 3, balancing autonomy and intimacy. In what ways might living apart contribute to feelings of autonomy and empowerment in a relationship, and how does it affect the intimacy between partners? I think this is definitely a huge one when you have two partners in a relationship who are both very career driven and they may live in different locations. I'm in the US, especially on different coasts because of career, motivations and things they're working toward. How is this balance of autonomy, intimacy, and being career driven going to impact your relationship and impact your intimacy? Question 4, weighing social norms versus individual preferences. So, how does societal acceptance or pressure influence the decision to adopt non conventional relationship models such as LAT? And then question 5, longevity and stability in non-cohabitation. Considering the data, how do the stability and longevity of LAT relationships compare with more traditional cohabitating or marital relationships where people traditionally are living together? And I think this is a huge one when you're thinking about, can you do this long term? I believe it takes people with very clear and specific goals, motivation, and a lot of self-awareness to thrive in a LAT relationship. I don't think it's impossible, but I don't think it's for everyone. I do feel it's worth exploring and having that discussion if this is something that you desire with your partner. So now I just want to get into my thoughts about living apart together relationships. Me personally, it would work for me. Okay. I am a person who really enjoys their autonomy, really enjoys their independence. I have a high degree of self-governance and self-discipline, self-respect, and I believe in having a partnership where I treat another person the way I would want to be treated. Therefore, my ideal partner is a man that feels the same way, and he has a high degree of self-discipline, common sense, intelligence, and he's not going to put himself in a situation that could be perceived negatively by a partner, or he's not going to put himself in a situation to tempt him to cheat or cheat. I wouldn't do that myself. So I believe it could work if I had a partner with the same level of consciousness, self-awareness, self-discipline, and self-accountability, because I hold myself to a very high degree of that. So the people that I feel LAT relationships work best for are extremely mature individuals, emotional maturity, intellectual maturity, and spiritual maturity. That's just to sum up all the characteristics I just said. It is not a relationship for people who lack maturity, because it's going to end in ruin. And to me, if you lack maturity, you're never going to take accountability if something untoward or bad happens in a relationship. I'm personally also an individual, a woman who doesn't believe in forgiving a cheater. And I know that may sound weird from a relationship coach. Well, let me backtrack that. I believe in forgiveness. I do believe that if you're in a relationship, if you're wronged, you do need to forgive a person in your own time and through your own process. Let me be clear. This isn't rushing or forcing or shaming anyone who's, still in their process of healing. But in your own time, forgiveness will help release the person who was wronged. However, let's be clear. Forgiveness to me does not mean restoration of a relationship. I have been cheated on before, and I had to make peace and go through my own, process of healing. And I forgave that man. But that doesn't mean I was going to restore the relationship. We were done. You cheat, you're grown. You are 100% accountable for the choices that you make, and you chose to put yourself in that situation and cheat. And I feel when people don't have that level of maturity and understanding and self-discipline to govern themselves, this is not about another party holding you to something. This is about you holding yourself to a higher standard. If you lack that, then a LAT relationship, a living apart together relationship, is not going to work for you. So I personally can be in one and have been in one in my, adult life, and it did work out well. It did not end over cheating or anything negative. It was a mutual parting of ways because we wanted different things in life. However, he was a man who held himself to a very high degree of behavior and discipline, and carried himself with a lot of respect, and he moved accordingly. No one had to be watching him for him to behave in a way that he felt was appropriate in this life. And I still have a lot of respect from him, and we still, have great communication today. But yes, LAT relationship would work for me. Will it work for most people? No, I don't think it will work for most people. The caveat to this is I feel it probably works with people best for people who are older, especially older women who have been married before and are widowed or divorced. They have come to a place in their life where they don't really want a lot of the expectations that are traditionally put on women, especially women of older generations, of what they're supposed to do in the household. And so living with a partner, especially if they're heterosexual, living with a man would not benefit or behoove them, especially when you think about you're getting people getting older. That's usually when more illness and things crop into the picture. And older women have no desire to deal with that. So I do think it is a really awesome relationship model for those mature enough to handle it. Thank you for joining me today for this edition of Blogs and Articles. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Feel free to suggest other blog posts, articles, news stories, etc. related to love, marriage, dating, and relationships that you would like me to cover in this series. Thanks for tuning in today. This is Janelle, and I look forward to sharing